when most people get into travel hacking, it's because of the appeal of free upgrades, or flying around for next to nothing, or getting access to VIP lounges and preferential treatment and all this sort of stuff. But for me, what travel hacking comes down to is flying more frequently, flying better, and flying cheaper. One thing that you can do that's very cheap and very easy to do to fly better is to pack a lot lighter. And in fact, I'm away for nearly a week at the moment, and all I have is a simple, fairly light piece of carry-on luggage that fit on the plane with me, and I can get around with very, very quickly and very, very easily. There's a couple of reasons why you want to do this. Firstly, it's a lot easier to carry something that's small and light than it is to pack a big bag. You know, I was in Positano earlier this year, and having to lug a big bag, I know I should have packed a lot lighter for that trip, but having to lug a big bag around up steps and down big valleys was a nightmare, and it also added a lot of expense to the trip because we needed to pay for luggage at times. It meant that we had to pay for porters. It meant that we paid extra for cabs, whereas traveling light with one very simple backpack or one very simple piece of carry-on luggage, you don't have any of those expenses and you don't have any of those stresses. You also miss out on a lot of the stresses of packing and making sure that you've ticked everything off your big long laundry list to get it packed to go and to get it packed to come back. You fit everything into the big case that you've got, and that you've made sure that you haven't left anything behind, because God forbid, you end up in a country that doesn't have, deodorant, because most countries don't sell deodorant. So a lot of this stuff that you pack because it's necessary, you can actually end up buying when you get there. And when you're traveling in Asia, sometimes it is very, very cheap to, for example, buy a couple of sachets of shampoo. If you're also traveling for extended periods of time, you don't really need to worry about, packing 3 weeks of clothes, for example. A lot of places have laundries in foreign countries, so you can actually get your clothes washed or wash your own clothes, or at an absolute push, you can dry and wash your clothes in your own bathroom. There's also some other side benefits that you might not consider that flow from packing really light, and those are things like if you've only got carry-on luggage, you can make a lot tighter connections at airports, so you have a bit more flexibility about how you travel. You also don't need to spend as much time waiting at airports. You can skip queues. You don't need to go through the checked luggage lines. You can use online check-in and then walk straight onto the plane. And you can also, like what I did when I took my most recent flight, you don't even need to worry about collecting bags. You move straight off the plane and straight through customs and immigration. And for me, on this most recent flight, the one that I'm on, or the trip that I'm on right now, that meant that I skipped every queue, because while everyone else was waiting for bags and then queued up behind each other to go through customs and immigration and get their visas on arrival, I walked straight to the front of the queue at the visas on arrival line. I walked straight past the baggage carousel, through customs, through immigration, had a very small bag to scan, and suddenly I was straight through to the taxi line, and because I wasn't fighting a whole plane load of people, I was the first one to grab a taxi. So it meant that the time that I spent on arrival at the airport was literally just a couple of minutes. So I'd encourage you, it's free to try, and sometimes a little bit scary to test out, but the next time you have a short trip, see if you can pack next to nothing, basically a change of clothes. See if you can get away with carry-on luggage for a week-long trip or even longer. I promise you, if it's really that bad, that you can go out and buy a lot of the things that you've left behind. If you don't even need to pack undies. You can buy undies in basically any country that you are. You don't even need to worry about those little baggies of 100 milliliter, toiletries. You can buy shampoo and toothpaste when you arrive, and it might, only cost $5 extra to buy all your toiletries when you arrive, but it'll save a huge amount of stress, and it'll also show you what's possible when you start packing very light, and how much of a difference having a tiny little bag makes compared to having a huge bag that you lug around everywhere.